The following program is sponsored by Friends of Life Outreach International.
Coming up on Life Today, Beth Moore helps us become more honest versions of ourselves.
I mean, I'm Southern. I'm gonna say just a little bit more than was necessary. I'm gonna tell you I love you just a little bit more than I do. I mean, I love you a little, but I'm not gonna say I love you a little. I'm gonna say you are my best friend forever. When you're not. You know what I'm saying?
Discovering our true selves. Next.
Out here, y'all look like you're enjoying yourself. Betty, they must be Beth Moore fans. I mean, when they get real excited, they just, well, maybe they're Jesus fans. But welcome to Life Today. I'm James Robinson. Betty and I are so thrilled to share this time with you. I'm holding what I refer to as witness pens. And this is the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, peace, self-control. And this is yours, along with this beautiful one, the names of God, and they all have such specific meaning. Now, they're two different types, but they're just fabulous, and they work great. You know, a lot of times you get pens from people and they don't write. And these are wonderful writing instruments, but better than that, not only are they pretty, they give you an opportunity to witness. We offered some pens similar to this several years ago, and people told us that it was amazing how frequently someone would look at it and they'd begin to discuss the things of God. Maybe in a public place, maybe we're signing a bank card. But we're offering them to you if you will help us share water. I want to read a couple of notes with Beth Moore's teaching today. She's talking about our true selves. Now this is one of the points that she's going to cover. When are we crossing the line of working people? What's in it for me? Is there a single slice of insincerity in what you're saying? Then listen to this point. I think it's very, very important. Start facing up by going face down. I remember when I was asking people to pray for our nation and ask God to call us back to the shelter, Beth said, I'll meet you on the floor, face down, praying for America. Well, let's learn about our true selves. Welcome, Beth Moore. Here's Beth.
Number 3 is this. We're called to work with people, not to work people. We are called to work with people. But we are being trained by a culture that works people. Now, just so you know what my terminology is, if you're in a different region of the world or in a different part of the country where they don't say it that way, what I'm talking about by working people is not that you're an employer. That's a beautiful thing. I'm talking about manipulating people, just working them, and so working with them. Listen. We are the people of God. No matter how much the rest of the world works people, we must stop. We are out of the will of God when we just join in with them, because our entire culture is all about working people. We're all Jacobing in our own way. I want you to write down 2 words somewhere in your margin there. I want you to write down the words working people. Working people. And this does not mean that we're just like hard-working people. No, working people. I want you to write down those 2 words. Then I want you to put between those 2 words a little V like that shows where you're slipping in a word in between. And I want you to put the word with. Because listen, girlfriend and guy friend, we're getting our with back in our working people. Because we are called over and over again. The Word of God trains us all through Proverbs. So many of the epistles train us how to work with people. But our entire culture, and listen, you're indoctrinated in it constantly. through TV programs, through social networking. Social networking is one of the biggest things I'm talking about here. We've got to understand that manipulation is a form of deception. Listen, we think that if there is a godly result, it doesn't matter if there has to be a little bit of a manipulative means to it. And that's wrong. Because if it's part fraud, the spirit of truth will not be in it. So as people of God, we can't think, well, the end justifies the means. Oh, no, it does not. God never uses carnal, worldly, or manipulative or controlling means to bring to a godly end. That is not the way He works, and we are held accountable by Him no matter how much the rest of the world is getting away with it. And trust me, they are. Listen, one of the things that I can use that can help me figure out if I'm working with people or working people, I have to ask myself a couple of questions. And so I'm just going to pitch some out to you if this helps you. This is what I'm going to do. Because sometimes it's a fine line. Would anybody agree with that? Like, at what point did I cross over that line where I began to work them? Because especially people that are real people, I mean, we can work people. At what point are we crossing over that line? Okay, here's two questions I ask myself. First, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? Now, in a business situation, you're trying to get your staff really motivated. Okay, say there's bonuses involved, whatever. Okay, sometimes there really is something in it for you. But you can know in advance, at least if there is something in it for you, you can know in advance, okay, I'm already on thin ice then. This already means because there is something at stake in this for me. There is something personal I could get out of what it is I'm trying to convince people to do. Okay, then I need to know already I am standing on very, very thin ice. I better be extremely aware that I'm walking in wisdom here, but I got to ask myself, what is in it for me? Is it a self-oriented goal? Getting what I want from them. The second one is this, and I've really been testing this. I'm trying to think, about 2 weeks ago, God began working this lesson in my heart, and I've thought about it ever since. And I mean, every day since then, I've thought about it, and I've just been dealing with whatever, because I'll just go, in my own spirit, fraud. And I don't want that to scare you. My husband, I believe my husband would tell you he knows the same woman that you have serving you today. But you know, when we just kind of, I mean, I'm Southern. I'm going to say just a little bit more than was necessary. I'm going to tell you I love you just a little bit more than I do. I mean, I love you a little, but I'm not going to say I love you a little. I'm going to say, you are my best friend forever. When you're not. You know understand what I'm saying? When somebody said, like, do you know what my name is? Well, no, now remind me. Remind me, because it's on the tip of my tongue. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Somebody. So the second question is this. Is there a single slice of insincerity in it? A single slice of insincerity. Even if it's well hidden, even if they'll never know it. But here's what's been happening, because I'll hear myself, because I see people all the time. Talk to people all the time. And I've begun to get this thing, because I've been asking God, deal with me on this, that when I say something that just has a slice, I can't tell you how many things I've said again in a different way over the last 2 weeks, because I think, say it again. This time, say it more honestly. Like, I think about you all the time. Well, you know, day before yesterday, it was really occurring to me what you're going, no, not all the time, but I have been thinking of you. I prayed for you so many times. Well, I prayed for you 3 times, but I did it with everything in me. You know what I'm saying? What is the slice of insincerity there? Now, listen, you and I live in a social networking world. And when you see the word social networking, I mean, they are working it. We are working it. Here's the deal. I want to be part of it. I like it. I'm not on Facebook because I don't have time for it. The ministry is, but I'm not personally. But I love blogging. I like Twitter. I like all of that kind of stuff. I love fooling with my phone. But I'm just going to tell you, I think there comes a time. Let me just ask you, if you describe someone you know, and she is a networker. He is a networker. Do you really, I'm just asking you, really, do you mean everything good by that? Because I bet you don't. I bet you don't. I bet you'd laugh just a little bit. Do you know somebody that's just like they're always running for president? Anybody? We're just always running for president out there. Because they're networking. I'm just saying, we're on thin ice here, believers. We're on thin ice because this world that we're operating in is given to it. I mean, it is just given to it. And so I want you to hear, this is way before social networking even became a term that we used. A.W. Tozer wrote something, a quote that I want to read to you. It says this: "The grosser manifestations of these sins, egotism, exhibitionism, self-promotion, are strangely tolerated in Christian leaders, even in circles of impeccable orthodoxy. Promoting self under the guise of promoting Christ is currently so common as to exact little notice. Exhibitionism, egotism, self-promotion. We're all about, forgive me, if this shoe doesn't fit, don't try to put it on. But I'm just saying, in this social networking world where Christians are just completely immersed, and I'm one of them, if we're not careful, we will use Jesus to promote ourselves. We will use Jesus to get us some followers, not him. I got this many new followers. This is dangerous, and it is fraudulent, and it is not working with people. It is working people. It is working people. I mean, listen, we have a mass population of heel grabbers. You might know what I'm talking about, heel grab. Jacob was the original heel grabber. When he and his twin brother were born, he was born grabbing on to his brother's heel, grabbing to get ahead. Let me tell you what can happen. We have people that are so ambitious to be used powerfully of God that they grab the heel of someone they think is being powerfully used by God so that they can use them to get somewhere. Now listen, there's mentoring, where someone comes and takes your hand. I have the joyful privilege of being able to just walk with Priscilla Shire. It's one of the greatest joys of my ministry life is having these spiritual daughters. And listen, she was well mentored by several powerful women of God before I ever even came on her radar. But we have a close relationship. I've already heard from her this morning praying over this taping. I love her so much. I gladly take her by the hand in any way I possibly can and introduce her to anyone that will even listen to me. But not one time has she tried to grab my heel. Not one time. That's not hand-holding. That's not mentoring. That's not learning by example. That's grabbing on so you can get where they've gotten or get what they've got. And it's dangerous. I thought how the serpent bruised the heel of the seed of Eve, and how the enemy has been trying to grab onto the heel to supplant the work of Christ throughout all of human history. You want to see something so freaky here before we close? Look back where it says in verses 20 and 21. Now, let's all think up for a minute because I'm going to have to talk. I'm going to have to talk some original language here, but there's a reason why we're doing it, and I want you to appreciate it. And in the scriptures, particularly in Hebrew, there's this thing called narrative art. You don't see it as much in Greek. But in the Hebrew, it's not only what is being said, it's how it's being said. Very often a strong alliteration, very often real poetic language, very, very visual, very artistic language. And it's happening all over the place here. Because in 20 to 21, where Jacob said, "You shall say, moreover, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he thought," listen carefully, "I may appease him with the present that goes ahead of me. And afterwards I shall see his face, and perhaps he will accept me." So the present passed on ahead of him, and he himself stayed that night in the camp. Listen carefully. In the Hebrew, the word panim, which is the word for face, is used 5 different times in those 2 verses. If we were reading more literally from the Hebrew, it would say, instead of I will appease him, or I may appease him, it would say, I will cover his face. I will cover his face. When you and I are manipulating someone, it is as if, I wish so much I thought to bring a hand towel with me, because it is as if we are standing in that front of that person and we're covering their face with the towel while we're talking to them. We may even cover their face while we hug them. Anybody know what I'm talking about? We'll meet with an employer and we'll just throw a towel over their face because we're trying to appease them by manipulation, by spinning it instead of dealing honestly with the situation. I will try to cover his face. It goes on to say, the present that goes ahead of me. Literally, it is that present that goes ahead of my face. In the ESV, it says it clearly, I shall see his face. That one is clear. Perhaps he will accept me. When it says that in the ESV, it says he will raise my face in more literal translation of the Hebrew. So the present passed on ahead of him. In the Hebrew is, it passed on ahead of his face. 5 times, face it, face it, face it, face it, face it. You think Jacob was having to deal with facing it? I think so. I think so. And so that's what's happening. What God wants to do in us is get us to throw in the towel that we keep throwing over somebody else's face to appease them and face it. I say this as one who has been there so many times. Have you made a mess? Girl, I get it. I get it. Guy friend, I get it. I have too. Are you a mess? Oh, I've been one. I've been one. Has there been a mess made? Oh, I know about it. But there comes a time when we keep wondering why healing escapes us, and we will not do the dealing that would bring the healing. Deal with it. Deal with it. Deal with it. Deal with it. Our very last point is this. Start facing up by going face down. Start facing up by going face down. Today, find a place in your house. Go somewhere where you can be alone. Maybe if you're at your workplace, maybe you need to wait till you get home. Maybe in the public restroom, it would not be as great a place to try this. But let it begin. If you and I want to begin facing up, okay, I need to face this. I got a situation between a couple of my kids here that nobody's calling out, and it needs to be called out. This is what is going on. I need to take authority in an area where God has given me authority, but I will not stand up and say what it is I see. Anybody know what I'm saying? We're all just working people, and we're letting them work us, and we know we're being worked. Do we need to face up? Then go face down. It starts right there. Go all the way face down on the ground and go, God, if I can face you, I can face anything.
To obtain information on Beth's teaching materials and for her speaking schedule, visit us online at lifetoday.org.
Wow. If you can face God, you can face anything. Father, how I pray you'll take what Beth shares straight to the hearts of people, all of us, and that we'll be able to come into your presence boldly. It is a grace throne, but knowing that that's what we want, your grace, your truth, your will, in Jesus' name. We're so glad that you give us the opportunity, sharing this time with you, sharing Beth and what God puts on her heart to be a blessing to you. Betty, I met a woman. I went to speak to some men over in North Dallas at Elevate Life Church, Keith Craft's pastor. The lady that helped everybody with all these mighty warriors, these great men, she told me, and she was almost tearful. She had helped as a hostess. She said, I want to thank you for putting Beth Moore on your program every week, because I think if you hadn't, I think my life was over. But God's used her to change my life. I'm glad you're blessed. Beth Moore is a blessing, and one of the greatest blessings she tells us that she's ever experienced was going to the mission fields with Life to share food and water and love. Life. I want you to listen to another beautiful woman filled with Jesus who understands what's really important.
We all face obstacles in life, but often the reward on the other side motivates us enough to overcome them. These girls in need of life-giving water face unbelievable obstacles. They labor for hours each day, for miles walked and climbed to get it. And they do. Their strength and resilience is astounding. But for what? For water that looks like this? That's no reward. It's filled with sickness and death. Something they've encountered all too much of. You see, their source of water is the one thing they can't overcome. But you know who can? We can. With your help. With your help, we can change the life of this girl, and this girl, and this mom, and this village. Please, all it takes is for each of us to do what God is leading us to do.
All it takes is each of us.
You know, James, as Tammy said, they can't do anything about it. They can't change their condition. They can't change that contaminated water. Those mothers would give their own lives to see their children have to avoid all the death that diseased water brings. But we can. We can make the difference. If you'll join with us, we can drill these water wells so that they can know the difference in clean water and diseased water. And I know which one they'll choose.
I remember so well when Betty and I were moved deeply on the mission field, so much so that we were ready just to leave everything here and just go and stay there. And they literally, it was a united request. Please don't stay here. Please go back home and ask people all over the world who've been blessed to make it possible for us to stay and do what God's called us to do. Please go and ask. And Betty and I really heard the call of God. The Lord let me know one of the giftings that He had given me was to inspire people. He said, James, this is your part in my heart. Inspire people to fulfill their part in my heart. And our part together is to put His arms around a hurting world, to reach out with hands of love and bless people in the area of their need because of what He has done in our heart. So we're giving water for life, and then we're telling people about the water of life that put this on our heart, that can change their life. This year we have undertaken, this is the largest number of wells we've ever felt like the Lord told us to drill in a single year. Over 500 wells this year. That's going to take every one of you. I wish I could reach out and take you by the hand and just say to you, you are so critically important for you to give a cup of water. Think about this. A gift of $48 will give 10 people water the rest of their life. This is to provide a well for a village that will last a lifetime. 500 areas, 12 countries. Would you help us give 10 people water? $144, 30 people. You can do that. Some of you can drill a well. They're $4,800. Or you can give a portion of a well, $1,200. Ask God to raise up 3 others to join you. $2,400. Pray somebody matches that. We have many people right now who have asked God, God, let me do this. God's heard their prayer. We have people who say every year now, I look forward to drilling another well. I'm asking all our viewers to pray, let that happen for you. But right now, the majority of the support comes from people who give $48, $144. Whatever you can do, it's big to the people whose lives it will save. If you will dial the number, take your bank card, use it like a check. If you write a check, make it to Life. But call the number and tell us what you're mailing. You can go online, lifetoday.org, and make your gift. We have some beautiful gifts to send you. The names of God in a Bible study that you will love, beautiful witness pens, the commemorative bronze living water. We want to say thank you for giving the greatest gift, the gift of life. Thank you for making that call. Thank you for making the gift God put on your heart.
Every day, millions of children are forced to make a dreadful choice. Drink filthy, polluted water filled with deadly disease or die from thirst. No child should ever be faced with this decision. The good news is there is a solution. Mission Water for Life is one of the most exciting and viable demonstrations of God's love in the world today. Suffering can end because clean water changes everything. With your gift today, we can establish and drill 500 new water wells for remote villages in over 12 different nations. Your gift of $24 will help provide clean water for 5 people. A gift of $48 will help provide for 10 people. $72 will impact 15 people. And $144 will help provide fresh, clean, disease-free water for 30 people for a lifetime. With your gift, be sure to request Majesty, an inspirational new fully illustrated book that will help you discover the promises behind the many names of God. With your gift of $100 or more, be sure to also request the Names of God pin set, custom crafted with the various names of God and the gifts of the Spirit. Also, please prayerfully consider a gift of $1,200 to help provide water for 250 people, or a gift of $4,800 to help sponsor a complete well. And be sure to request the limited edition 50th anniversary bronze sculpture, Living Water. Please call, write, or make your secure gift online today.
Thank you so much for your help. I think most of you have surely heard that this is the year we're celebrating our 50 years of marriage, and we're still loving every minute of it.
Yes, we are.
And you work on marriages every day, not ever so often, not every 50th anniversary or annual anniversary, it's every day. But we had 50 years and 50 years in ministry. This is a commemorative bronze celebrating 50 years. Living Water, it's a Robert Summers bronze. He's known to be the world's foremost artist, bronze artist. And he does this in love. We're sending it to those of you who will help us drill a water well. And we're asking you to make a special gift. I hope you'll do that. We thank you for whatever you've done today. We have some beautiful gifts to send you. I pray if you can drill a well, you will. Or whatever you can do, we say thank you. God bless you. Tell your friends to watch Life Today. Tell them about Beth Moore on Wednesdays.
This is what I want you to do. Tell someone you love them, and dinner's at 6.
Reclaiming the art of sharing life around the table. Tomorrow. Life Today is made possible by the supporters of Life Outreach International. Your gift will be used exclusively for the exempt purposes of life. The ministry features specific outreaches as examples of the programs it supports and conducts. Gifts are considered to be without restriction as to use unless explicitly stipulated by the donor. The ministry is a member of the ECFA.
The following program is sponsored by Friends of Life Outreach International.
Coming up, Beth Moore helps us discover our true selves.
Hurts happen, injuries happen. All of us have scars. All of us have wounds. All of us do. Life's tough. It's tough. So we've all got a limp of some kind wrestling through life on planet Earth. But we do our best to hide it. Why?
Are you hiding who you really are? Next on Life Today.
good. You look great. And I know some of you are glad we can't see you, but we welcome you like today. I'm James Robinson. Betty and I are thrilled to present Wednesdays with Beth. We actually refer to our Wednesdays as Wednesdays in the Word because that's what's going to happen. I want to show you something very cute.
I love that.
This is the beautiful little Christmas ornament. You say, what in the world are you doing talking about it this time of the year? Well, we want to give it to you. It's a little shoe. It's quite beautiful. And on the back of it, it's stamped Life's Christmas Shoe Project. And we give smiles and shoes for Christmas. And you're going to want to get one of these. We're giving it to those of you who will simply help us give children some shoes. And you're going to want to do that. Well, Beth is teaching on our true selves, and I think sometimes people don't know. They really don't know what they look like. And I think even, sometimes we have too high an opinion, but more than often, we may have a low opinion. Then we don't want to get honest about ourselves. Well, let's listen to Beth because I think she's going to inspire all of us. Here's Beth. Welcome.
Listen, have you ever had a revelation happen to you when you realize that what it is you find distasteful about somebody is what is in them that is in you? Yes. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. That what you resist is that it forces you to look in the mirror, that what you see in them is a seed of yourself. That's what you can't stand. And it's this glance at it. I got to tell you where this has happened to me. And because we're just being honest, this is our series. We're just like being transparent before one another. And unfortunately, I'm the only one doing all the talking. It's time for you to write me and tell me all your honesty. But okay, every now and then, God will cause me to kind of have almost an obsessive stare at a woman who, in her attempt to retain youth when youth was no longer possible, she has completely disfigured her face. I'm talking about disfiguring her face. I'm talking about when you look at somebody and think, what has happened that you can look in the mirror and you think that looks okay? I've got a very, very good dear friend who is a dermatologist, and she said, you cannot know how many times we try to say to a patient, it's not going to look good. I'm going to ask you. She said every now and then she just goes, I can't do it. You can have somebody else do it, but I can't do it, because when you do that, you honestly are not going to any longer look real. I don't mean trying to work with what you've got. I'm not talking about a little nipping and tucking here. I'm talking about a whole restructuring where somebody looks like they've got on this weird mask and they've got all these implants in their face. They no longer have any nose at all. And now, when your cheeks stick out further than your nose in your profile, something ain't right. Is somebody with me on this? But see, the Lord, I'll get almost obsessed with it. Like I can't quit looking at it. Like if it's in an airport or something, or in a restaurant or something, sometimes Keith will go, do I need to sit to the side where you can see better? because what I know is bothering me is that I think the Holy Spirit is saying to me, you want to be careful, Beth, don't you? You know, because I want to, work out. I like fun clothes. I want to have cool hip hair. Where's the line? I don't know. I don't know where it is. Because if somebody argued it with me, I would say, do you color your hair? We wear makeup. Most of you guys don't. Some of you do. Where is the line? Because truly the only way you can know it in the culture that we live in is to walk in the Spirit enough to where God can say through His Holy Spirit within you, And so the Lord will constantly, when I'm in a situation, I'm looking at someone that's just a few years older than me, that has kind of gone bizarre on it, I'll hear Him say in my inner man, that what you want? You better be careful, Beth. Stay this side of the line. Lord, will I know where the line is? And so I've got to deal with my daughters. My daughters are both in their early 30s. One is 30 and one is 32, and I've got to deal with them. So this is what I want you to do. If Mommy ever crosses the line and I no longer look like a normal person, if you ever come home and I've got a small nose, and I'm not talking about, I'm not dogging having a nose job. Listen, goodness knows I'd have loved to have had one at some point, but by the time I had the money to, I didn't care anymore. Does anybody know what that's like? But so I'm not dogging any of that, but I'm saying just bizarre. When somebody, is anybody, I need to see your hand if you know what I'm talking about, when it's just like bizarre, like, whoa. I mean, let me tell you something. By the time, there's this whole big thing that came out a couple of years ago, 60 is sexy. I want to tell you something. No, it's not. Pick your shirt up, because it's really not. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of good things, but no, sexy's not one of them. I can't really even tell you 50's sexy. I just can't. Because, it's not what it's about then. But we're trying to be that. It's a little gross. And so I asked am I telling y'all the truth or am I making something up? Is this just me being sensitive or have you seen it? And so I've made a deal with my daughters, Amanda and Melissa. I said, here's what I want you to do. If you ever look at me and go, whoa, where's our mother? I want you to say, Mother, we love you so much, but you look like an idiot. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. I need somebody. Because see, what we don't like, it's just like we have to face something that is like a Goliath size of something that is pent up inside of us. And it's scary. Now, I want to read the first 3 verses of Genesis 33. And I'm relieved and you're relieved because, listen, that was a painful few minutes we just spent, wasn't it? Was it painful to anybody besides me? I'd love to hear what you men are relating on, because there's got to be a way that relates to you guys as well. Genesis 33, 1 through 3. So here it goes, walking off. We've got the sun coming up. The music's really playing loud. It's so powerful. The sun is rising. You can see the sun coming up just like purple through the clouds and through that gorgeous, gorgeous ray of sun coming up. And we see Jacob, and he's limping. And a lot of scholars will say there's no reason for us to ever think that he ever got over it. I mean, who was going to pull out his leg? You know what I'm saying? In those days, a lot of times when there was an injury, it just stayed and it just dogged him until their death. And so in all likelihood, he always kind of had a little bit of an unstable walk. And it says, and Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau was coming. And I love this part because it goes ahead and tells us that the 400 men, sure enough, 400 men were with him. And so here's what Jacob did. Now, we remember, those of us who were in the first half of the series together, we know that he did a lot of conniving and planning. And we're going to see how much he really brings to pass at this point. Because here's what happens. It says that he divides the children among the mothers. Here's Leah and Rachel and their children. Here's the servants with them. And he put the servants with their children in front, then Leah and her children, and Rachel and Joseph last of all. But notice something very important here. Verse 3, he himself went on, what is the next word? Ahead of them. He went before them. Do you remember over and over? Check it out. All over Genesis chapter 32. He was saying, and Jacob, he's coming behind us. Always hiding behind cushion us from the person we're not wanting to face. Have you ever needed to really face someone, and not just because it's a biblical command to take another witness, but because you just wanted protection? Take a whole group with you so that person will be nice to you. Anybody? Only this time, something's happened. Because this time, Jacob is right out front. Right out front. Because you see, once we've wrestled with God and lived through it, we can face almost anything. Almost anything. He's ready to go face him. And what I just love is he faces him. He walks on ahead of them with his limp. With his limp. And you know what occurred to me? You know what? We have all got a limp. We all do. I need you to know I have got a limp. You don't live 55 years on planet Earth unscathed. Hurts happen. Injuries happen. All of us have scars. All of us have wounds. All of us do. Life's tough. It's tough. So we've all got a limp of some kind wrestling through life on planet Earth, but we do our best to hide it. Why? Because I'm going to tell you something. Actually, we're going to see Esau run to him, and I wonder if we could make the point that when we are not so careful to hide our limp and when we want everybody to think we've got it together, we are no longer even approachable. But when they can see, I too, I've been injured. I've been hurt. I've been rejected. I've been betrayed. I have been more secure or more insecure than anybody you know. Then that frees them up to approach without their own hiding. I love it. He went ahead of them. And it says something really strange. In verse 3, it says, and he went on before them, bowing himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. So here he comes. Now, picture this, because you need to know that, I mean, there's like getting up and getting down 7 times, but there's nothing like doing that all with a fresh limp. His hip joint is pulled out. So I want you to picture the discomfort that while he's walking toward his brother Esau, he is getting down on the ground and he is bowing 7 times. Now, that's so bizarre to us. I mean, if we did that today, people would just be going like, get up. I mean, what are you doing? But in their world, it was what someone would do if they were submitting to someone else. It's how they would show, listen, I come to you as one who is greater than myself. I come to you, I present myself before you with humility. I will present myself before you as inferior to how I see you. So it'd be like somebody would do this before their king. This is something that their world understood. But here it's even more fascinating because it is the echo of Isaac's blessing way back in Genesis 27 that he thought he was giving to his firstborn son. But he gives it to Jacob instead because Jacob has tricked him and he has dressed up as his brother Esau. But listen to this. He says, may nations bow down before you and your mother's sons bow down before you. So in this demonstration, you're going to see over and over how Jacob is attempting to give back the blessing to his brother Esau. Because once the Lord got hold of him and blessed him, he did not need anything else anybody could give him. Do not miss that. Oh, I'd say so. I'd say so. And he said, you have it back. So what had been spoken, your brother will bow down before you. He knew that Jacob thought he was saying that over Esau. So Jacob says, I'll bow down. I'll bow down before my brother. And he bowed down before him 7 solid times. And it says then, but Esau, I just love this. Verse 4, but Esau ran to meet him. And he embraced him and fell on his neck. And he kissed him and they wept. What in the world? What in the world? What grace. What beauty. We don't know, was this always on Esau's mind? Did he change his mind when he saw Jacob? We have no way of knowing. I'm constantly in a situation, in a narrative, when I want to say, Lord, give me a little more than that. If a woman had written it, we'd know what they smell like. We know everything about it. We know every single detail, what they say to the person standing beside them, what did they look like, what was the expression like. But men were inspired to write this, so we're left just going like, what happened there? And I want to know, did he plan it? Why were the 400 men with him? What changed when he saw him? Why did he need the 400 men if he was just going to run and hug him? I think maybe when he saw him. Have you ever made a monster out of somebody until you saw him again? You know, you're not near the monster I made you out to be. He just ran to him. After his brother's bowing down like this, runs to him. And he just grabs him and embraces him. He falls on his neck and he just kisses him. And it says that they just begin to weep. And I don't know, I can't even think when that would have been, that I would have ever seen face to face 2 men literally just weep in one another's arms. But it would be a powerful scene. much more so. I mean, women can do that when they just go like, oh, you look precious. You look darling. I mean, we could do that, but like two men just crying their eyes out. It's so powerful what happens in this scene. It says in verse 5, and when Esau lifted up his eyes and saw the women and the children, he said, who are these with you? And Jacob said, the children whom God has graciously given to your servant. Do you hear the subservient talk? Then the servants drew near, and they and their children, and bowed down, and Leah likewise and her children bowed down. And the last, Joseph and Rachel drew near, they bowed down. Esau saw the rest of it. He sees all his gifts now, all these servants, all these animals. He says, what do you mean by all this company that I've met? So a sweet thing. You know, I have a very close connection with women who have taken part in the Bible studies. They will say to me, you probably find this weird, but I feel like you're my friend. What they don't know that's even weirder is I feel it too. Sometimes I will feel it in advance. I'll sense that someone has Christ on them. They may have no familiarity with the studies whatsoever, but I'll just sense the Spirit of Christ on somebody before it has ever even come up. And it's a powerful, powerful, powerful thing. And we see this so beautifully as they come together in a way that is completely unexpected. And when I meet someone, and I'll say to them, as I begin to hug them, I'll look around and I'll see their family. Now, who are these? And get down and talk to those children. Reach out and shake her husband's hand. I hug the women and I shake the men's hands. That's what was happening here. He just was looking around going, who are all of these? Who are all of these? Jacob says, they're those that God has graciously given to your servant. And he says, I love this because he says, Esau says, what do you mean by all of this? And so Jacob answers him in verse 8 and says, but I want to give them to you so that I might find favor in your sight. And Esau says something powerful in verse 9. But Esau said, I have enough, brother. Keep what you have for yourself. What an unusual thing to be said in our day of excess. When was the last time we just went, I have enough? I just have enough.
To obtain information on Beth's teaching materials and for her speaking schedule, visit us online at lifetoday.org.
I don't think we hear that very often. I think it's a give me mentality. Dear God, I pray you would really deliver us from that sense of never having enough, especially as it relates to stuff, accumulation. Lord, I pray that we'll want you to have more of us and for you to be filling us to overflowing. We thank you for Beth. In Jesus' name, we give you praise. I want to show you something that I think is going to inspire you. You know, when I opened the program, I held up a little Christmas shoe. Well, here's what we want to do with your help. And boy, when I say we want to do it, with your help, there's not a single thing that we ever do on Life Today and Life Outreach that is not something we want to do, and that we includes you. When we find a need that we believe should be met in love, we seek to meet it. But the fact is, we can't do any worthwhile thing unless you agree. And when we saw all these little dirty feet with cuts and infections all over the world, we thought, you know, many of these children never had shoes. And let's do that. And I tell you, you hold up a little shoe like that and it just touches everybody's heart, but this little kid's real important too. I want you to listen to one of our dear friends on the mission field and listen to what Tammy says about what we can do. And this is something, I know it's way ahead of time, but we got to do it ahead of time because we can do something very special for Christmas. And I think there's not a single one of you watching that won't realize I can do something. Just listen.
Something that we take so for granted is wearing a pair of shoes every day. I don't think any one of us watching this right now is without a pair of shoes, but the reality is that there are hundreds of children around me at this moment that have no shoes. And I love Life Outreach for so many reasons, not just Water for Life or Rescue for Life or the food programs, but even bringing shoes to little ones. Listen, without it, they are in danger every single day. The simple things that we think about, like even just cutting your feet, walking in water that is diseased and full of bacteria, getting into a cut. I mean, they could literally lose their life. what a privilege we have to bring them a pair of shoes. Every one of these little ones is going to get a pair of shoes today. What I love is that this simple pair of shoes has become a treasure to this little girl. I love that she's holding on to it like it's the greatest gift she's ever been given. And it costs very little. For a little amount of money, we can produce thousands of shoes that could change a life, one child at a time, starting with her.
You know, Betty, you and I walked in areas that weren't even fit for you to be in with shoes on, and saw these beautiful little feet. And you remember we were in Central America, and I prayed. I saw a little girl. I guess maybe her big brown eyes reminded me of our little girls when they were her age, big brown eyes. And I prayed she'd come. She had left. I prayed that little girl come back. And I wanted to sit down and talk to her. And she came back and amazingly sat in my lap. And I just loved her. But we saw children that were in the hospital dying from diseases. They got infections from their feet. And you're holding this beautiful little Christmas
I can assure
ornament.
you there will be one on our tree this year. I love it. You know, and I think about the precious feet of children. You know, when our children were small babies, I just loved to kiss the bottom of their little feet, you know. And I look at these children, and you probably wouldn't want to kiss the bottom of their feet because so many of them do get disease from all the cuts and all the things that they have to walk through every day of their life. And I think it's so wonderful that we have the opportunity to put shoes on their feet. I look at the small size. We all like the small size. Aren't they cute? They're so cute. But I think if we can start with them this young, then they'll get to be this size without all the disease and the infection. So I hope you will join us. Put a smile on their faces. I love to see the shine on their faces, James, when they smile. It's a gift to them. They don't really realize probably at what depth it's going to help them, but they are happy to have the shoes.
Well, when you give shoes to these little children, and these will last a long time, they've got an adjustable strap so they can actually grow into them and get them a little bit larger than they need initially. And they'll last quite a while. When they see that love coming, and we're able to tell them it came because God put love in our heart, it opens the way for the missionaries. It's indescribable. Here's what I'd like to ask you to do. If you give $36, we got 10 pairs of shoes. You give $144, and we got 40 pairs of shoes. We're asking others to consider giving $1,000, and we're going to give smiles for Christmas and shoes. We're going to do cleft palate surgery and other facial surgeries that are desperately needed. So if you can help us, just dial the number, take your bank card, and make the gift God put in your heart. Surely you can give some shoes. It may be that you can give more than we even suggested. But it seems most of you watching could give 10 pairs of shoes, couldn't you? Even children do that. But would you please help us? You can go online, lifetoday.org, and make your gift. We're going to send the beautiful Christmas ornament. We'll send the bronze Christian missionary rescuing a boy that lived literally underground in the sewers. And that's an outreach that we've done for children to give them a home, too. But right now, we want you to help us give shoes. I pray you'll go to the phone or go online. Make the gift God puts on your heart.
Poverty is a killer. And because of it, children needlessly suffer, not only from a lack of food and clean water, but also from a lack of things we take for granted, such as a healthy smile or a simple pair of shoes. For most of these children, they've never owned a new pair of shoes. And while that may seem minor in the light of all their needs, walking with bare feet puts them at risk of life-threatening infections that could lead to crippling consequences, disease, and even death. By responding today, you can help Life immediately secure and begin shipping Christmas shoes to 200,000 children around the world, just in time for the holidays. Your gift of $36 will help provide 10 pairs of shoes. A gift of $72 will help provide 20 pairs. And a gift of $144 will help provide 40 pairs of Christmas shoes for children in need. In appreciation of your gift, be sure to request our 2013 Christmas shoe ornament. This beautifully crafted antiqued ornament is a unique reminder of your gift for Christmas shoes, a treasure to place on your tree each holiday season. Finally, please consider a gift of $1,000 or more to help provide over 275 pairs of shoes, or 2 children with corrective cleft palate surgeries. And you may request the limited edition 50th anniversary bronze sculpture, Christian, by renowned artist Robert Summers. Please call, write, or make your gift online today.
I am anxious to send you one of these beautiful, beautiful little Christmas ornaments, because it's basically a testimony. You're going to have people ask you about it, maybe as much as anything you have on the tree. And then remember the beautiful bronze. Christian, this little fellow lived in the sewers of Romania, literally in the underground drainage. And our daughter Rhonda, our oldest daughter, held him just like this. This particular girl is a missionary. We're sending that to those of you who will make a $1,000 gift. Remember to give smiles, surgeries for cleft palates, shoes and smiles for Christmas. Great gift, all in love. Thank you for watching. Thank all of you for being here with us.
Tomorrow, James asks if you have ever truly repented.
I turned my eyes upon Jesus. He changed my life.
Life Today is made possible by the supporters of Life Outreach International. Your gift will be used exclusively for the exempt purposes of life. The ministry features specific outreaches as examples of the programs it supports and conducts. Gifts are considered to be without restriction as to use unless explicitly stipulated by the donor. The ministry is a member of the ECFA.